Shot House, the podcast where we explore the craft, challenges, and stories of the farrier's world. From the anvil to the arena, we're here to talk all things hooves, horses, and hard work. Let's get started. My man, it's been a while since I've actually got to see your face, Jackson.
It's been a while. It's been quite a few months now.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for hopping in. Real quick before we get going, I want to introduce you and how we met, and because I think it's a cool story. Jackson Bakken from Iowa, him and I met in Oklahoma at Oklahoma Horseshoeing School over the summer, and it was probably one of the hottest times that I've ever experienced. And it was a true moment where you and I like really relied on each other, man. It was a really cool bonding experience, and it was too bad that you left, man. So how you been? How's everything going up there in Iowa?
It's going great, going really good. I'm getting busier as the days go on, and it's definitely not near as hot as it was down in Oklahoma.
Yeah, dude. Oklahoma is, I think you can talk about it as much as you want and compare it to like, hey, it's hot as hell, or whatever you think that you know what hot is. When you're inside of a barn with like, how many forges do you think are running at one time when it's already 112, 115 outside? Inside that barn.
I think we had some 110, 112 degree days, and I'm pretty sure we had 29 forges running.
I didn't think there was 29. I thought there was like maybe it felt like 29. I tell you that. It really did.
I don't remember how many there was running I'm not.
Well, I guess
if
you count the ones outside, you're right. You're right, because they had the new ones that came outside, and yeah, there was never a spot for you to like get any type of release of pressure. It was so hot, it was miserable. But I think that's what this is all about, man, because a lot of people were like, "Oh, you're going to school at the wrong time. You should go when it's colder." It's like, man, I don't want the weak route. I want the hardest they got. Wherever that caliber is, that's where I want to be at. And I'm happy that I got like the title of saying I went to Oklahoma Horseshoeing School when it was 200 degrees in this daggone barn. It was terrible. Dude, thank you.
I agree with you 100% on that. And I can safely say when I got back home, one of the, two of the first 5 horses I shoed when I got back home, it was the hottest it was in Iowa during the summer, which it was probably only 90 degrees. And I was in a barn with a breeze, but it still felt like I was back at Oklahoma Horseshoeing School.
Is that as hot as it gets up there in Iowa, like 90? Is that about normal?
We'll hit 100 maybe, yeah, for a day or two, and that's about the extent of it, though.
That ain't bad. That's like sounds like paradise. Iowa is one of those states that it's a sleeper, right?
Yeah,
you don't talk about it too much.
Yeah,
it's not on the news too much, but it's out there, man.
We sit idle around here. But
well, Jackson, thank you so much for joining the Shot House. Jackson is a rancher, farmer, horseman. Cowboy Mounted Shooting Association is what he's rolling in, and he's also a farrier and certified out of Oklahoma Horseshoeing School right here in southern Oklahoma. We kind of already start diving in a little bit about like where you're from, but that's not home for you. Where's home?
Originally, home was southern Minnesota, the Rochester area, and I grew up there, born and raised. Lived there till I was 18. Moved to northern Iowa, working just different jobs, doing some random things, and ended up, my parents moved down here to southern Iowa, Creston, Iowa area. And I decided, you know what, I could use a little bit of change. So I ended up down here with them, and just the amount of business and the amount of good people down here, it is insane.
That's cool, man. And how old were you when you moved to Iowa?
I was 18.
Oh, wow. So you had a completely different life that you already started. What is that like to like? Because I meet a lot of people that are like, oh, I was born, let's just say Minnesota, but I live in Iowa. And I'm like, well, when did you move to Iowa? Like, oh, I was 9 months old. Like, you don't even remember
Yeah.
Iowa, or Minnesota, but you
Yep.
actually had a full blown, life there. What's that like coming from, different states and uprooting all of that?
I'll be honest, it really sucked leaving all my friends and family. It That was probably the hardest part. But the jobs, I farmed up there since I was 12. I grew up on my family dairy farm, and when dairy kind of went under, didn't really have a whole lot going. So I did a little bit of dirt work, just some odds and ends, and it was nothing that I couldn't leave. And the hardest part was definitely leaving the friends and family.
So the dairy world, I know not from personal experience, but I've heard that's a hell of a lifestyle. Like you're married to the dairy.
Uh, Nobody ever took vacations. It was
Ever.
ever. It was 7 days a week, every week. I
Mm.
had every other weekend off, is from 12 to 16.
Well, let's talk about your time off. I mean, as a rancher, a farmer, a horseman, in this world of, we know that there's no days off, and we jump in knowing that. Our whole life revolves around these horses, these animals, or crop growing. When you do have time off, what do you like to do? Because I understand that you're pretty an outdoorsy type of guy.
Yep. So in my time off, I
And
spent,
I know those bass can't be as big in Iowa
well,
as they are down here
I
in
don't
Oklahoma.
know. There's quite a few big ones on the Mississippi. But
Yeah.
no, in my time off, I usually try and spend it bow hunting, or which is honestly my favorite thing to do to this day. Otherwise, I've done a lot of fishing. I got into a lot of bow fishing up on the Mississippi, and me and a couple buddies, we did that a lot, and that was just
So that's
insane
like
fun.
that's real hunting. When you're bow hunting, it's a completely different sport than rifle hunting. Completely different,
And
right? I mean,
I'm gonna
because you got to
I'm gonna
be.
rope this. I'm gonna rope this into trimming and shoeing horses.
Gotcha.
I think
Perfect.
part of the reason I love it so much is because it's a challenge. There's always a challenge. There's always something different. You might have a buck that's been coming in one way for 2 weeks, and then the day you're sitting there, he completely goes out around you, and it's more of a challenge. Just like trimming and shoeing horses, it's you might have one that is awesome 3 weeks or 3 cycles in a row. And then the next time it's got a thrush or an abscess or something where it just does not want you to be any part of that foot.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, man. It really
I
is.
mean,
Every foot is different, and it's wild to think about how many challenges that we have to face and decisions we have to make. And we're doing it so subconsciously. I mean, so when you're out there bow hunting, you've done this so long that you just kind of get a vibe for what's going to happen before it even happens, almost too. Like you got to kind of think ahead, and that's kind of similar to horseshoeing. We're planning for the long game here and making adjustments, and the same thing as maybe hunting, because like I only come from rifle hunting where we pull off the side of a road and shoot them. Okay, that's
yeah,
Texas hunting.
yep.
Like when I talk to guys from up there from up north, and they describe their hunting experiences, it's like they're trained soldiers out there stalking and tracking down their prey, or their enemy. It's pretty wild.
That's what it feels like half the time. And then you look back on it and you're like, well, I mean, it was a pretty cool hunt, but I guess it wasn't. It felt like I was a Marine going through the swamps and everything, but really I was just belly crawling through a hayfield for 100 yards and jumped up and shot it. But
Well, it's a dying breed, man. It's a dying breed for sure. I mean, I think everything that we're doing nowadays is the dying breed. You don't meet a whole lot of
Absolutely.
folks anymore that are out there hunting for their food or shoeing horses. And that's really cool that we can have events set up that still bring that history and heritage back. And one thing that I remember when we were when we got getting to know each other, one thing we clicked on was Cowboy Mounted Shooting. And and you knew exactly what that was because you do this up in Iowa, and you probably did this out in Minnesota and many other
Yep.
states that they host this event. But that was something you and I had in common, and that's an up and growing sport. Tell us a little bit about like where that started, because that's the coolest, in my mind, the coolest event in the equine world or the rodeo world.
So back in, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, 2013, my mom was working with a lady who she was big on cowboy mounted shooting. Her and her husband did it. Her husband was a world champion at it. And me and my family, we love our horses and we love our guns. So it was just a combination of the two that drew us to it. And we've done it ever since up until, well, now coming 2025 will be the next season of it. And it's just, it's not like you're barrel racing or you're roping. It's truly a family sport. You get all the young kids in there that ride through, don't necessarily shoot, but use their cap guns. And
I've seen that.
it the whole just the whole mounted shooting community, everybody's like a great big family. And I think that's what draws us to it, is just it is so down to earth, so family oriented. It's pretty crazy that it is that way, and it's not a cutthroat horse sport like a lot of them.
Right. I know that's what draws us into it so much. And I say us loosely. I haven't really done it too many times, but every time I have done it, I had nothing but endless support from the veterans around there, helping me out with my gear or helping me load or teaching me the patterns. Now these aren't just, you're not going out there with AR-15s and Kimbers. I mean, these are old based weapons or rifles, pistols, revolvers, but there's a certain type of them. Is that correct?
Correct. There, it's all. So there's three different things. There is your main match pistol, which everybody has to do, and then you can add on and do shotgun and or rifle. And so your pistols, they are just single shot revolver 45s. Your shotgun is a uh, double barrel, just I can't remember the caliber, but there's a few different ones they allow for that. And then your rifle, it's like the old Western. It's gotta be the single shot 45 rifles that,
Right.
like
Like a
John Wayne used to use. It
3570.
has to be authentic, I should say.
Right. Right. And then you guys have a pattern that there's 10 balloons that are set up. So these are 6 shooters, but you're only loading 5 in there per gun.
Correct.
And then the double. I didn't know they had a shotgun. I seen the rifle before, and they used the rifle on the rundown. Is that your favorite part of the whole event? Is the rundown?
I love it. And you know, one of my favorite things to do is rifle, just because when
So
you're coming down that rundown with a rifle, going as fast as you can, shooting as quick as you can, it truly does make you feel like John Wayne. Whether you get to the end and you realize you missed 3 balloons or hit them
right.
all, it's still it's a pretty cool feeling.
And this is a really cool event because it is timed, but accuracy is huge in this because like how many points you lose or seconds you lose if you drop a balloon?
If you miss a balloon, you drop 5 seconds or add 5 seconds to your
Yeah.
time. If
Yep.
there is random barrels in there, like your rundown barrel, you have to go around the barrel and everything. If
Yep.
you happen to knock that over, I think that's a 10-second penalty just for knocking a barrel. And then
Dang.
there is certain patterns where the first 5 random balloons, there's gates and different things to where if you don't do the pattern by the standards, it'll actually add on 10 seconds if you miss a gate or something like
Right.
that.
Right. And there's like 90 plus patterns. There's a whole book of them.
Yeah, I think as of now, there's over 150 in the
Wow.
CMSA book.
Wow. And it's grown a lot over the past like 10 years. I remember when I first heard about it and I went out to like a practice and I got to do it. There weren't a whole lot of people involved. When you mentioned it, a lot of people didn't know about it. It really surprised me that when I mentioned it, you were like, hey, I got it. I actually won a check. And I remember you showing me that photo of, I don't think it was like almost $4,000 of winnings. Where was that rodeo at?
So that was a local shoot just up here. Actually, it's held 3 miles from our place. There's people, well, there's actually a big extended family that they raise mounted shooting horses, just sell them and raise them just for that. So they have a 4-year-old futurity every year with all of their Travis horses. And it's, they
So there's
put some
nothing really
money in
too
it. And
crazy different between like a barrel horse and a cowboy mounted shooting horse. What is a cowboy mounted shooting horse?
you really have to have a well-minded horse. You have to have a well-minded horse and one that you can train to rate. There's a lot of horsemanship with it, and I believe a big part of that is getting your horse to rate, work off your legs, do everything you ask it, and then some. I mean, not that you can't have a very good, well-trained horse that doesn't do that.
Right.
That's just what it takes to be a mounted shooting horse, I guess. Because you're not always worrying about guiding the horse. You need the horse to
Yep.
kind of guide itself. You're worrying about shooting balloons and doing
The fun
everything
stuff.
else right. And that's half of it right there.
Well, you
That's
dropped a
the
really
hardest part.
important word, man. And it's one of my favorite because I think it's a journey for everybody in this industry, and that's horsemanship. And I think everybody has their own definition as well. It might not be too different than somebody else's, but because it's such a unique connection, I think it's a unique definition. Uh, if describe horsemanship in your own words, brother.
You know, over the years, I grew up on a I think I was 9 years old. Grew up on a $250 sale barn special Shetland pony, and that's what I started riding. And back then, I could ride the thing, but it bucked me off every other day. Now, could I have rode it? Could I have done different things differently? Absolutely, but horsemanship to me, I think instead of making it do what you want it to do, you need to make that horse work and learn and want to do the right thing. You need to make it learn, make it do that as its job, which my mounted shooting horses, there ain't a single one of them that hate doing it. I don't get out there. They don't balk going in the gate. They don't balk going in the arena. They don't rear up. They don't do anything like that. They don't get amped up. They go in that arena and they do their job and they do it very well. And a lot of horsemanship is between the horse and the rider. You got to have a good connection. If you don't have a good connection to where you two can work off of each other, you just, I think that is horsemanship to me. That's my definition, I guess. You got to
Well,
learn to work with your horse and work with every other horse. It might not be the same way for everyone. They're all different.
no, yeah, it's not. It's definitely not. I think that the way that you approach it is, I wouldn't say too far off the beacon track of where everybody is striving to get. That's what we want, right? We want that connection, and we want you to be able to move off our legs and not get all brainwashed and twisted up in the box. I mean, those are huge moments, but they happen all the time too.
Absolutely.
And so, like, in I don't know, let's say like dumb it down, like if say like I'm looking at this for the first time and this is the first time I've heard the word horsemanship, like simplify that for me.
I think, in my own words, horsemanship is the ability to work with any and every horse. And you're going to pick some fights. You're always going to have fights. But you got to pick the small ones and win the small ones and let them win some of the times, but always end on a good note. And just the easiest way I've seen people ruin horses and do the opposite of horsemanship is pushing a horse too much and just not kind of giving them their space. You gotta be very respectful of the horse. It's a 1,200-pound animal you're on. It'll turn and do anything it wants as soon as it wants. So the fact that you can get along with it, that's kind of my big thing. You got to be one with the horse and really be involved with it.
One with the horse. I like it. I'm having a camera issue, but no big deal. I'm going to roll right into it here. Hopefully it uploads back. And that leads right into like the next thing I was kind of setting up here is, horsemanship can be applied into just about any aspect of someone's day-to-day life. Like outside of the arena, outside of the round pen, outside of the barn, how has horsemanship affected your just day-to-day life?
Honestly, as of now, my day-to-day life, working with younger horses and doing just different things after going to horseshoeing school, it has taught me a lot of patience. Patience is the biggest thing that it has taught me that applies every day. Because there's days where I don't have much, but that goes back to hunting. With hunting, horses have taught me patience to sit there and wait and just do the right thing. And I think patience is the biggest thing. Other than that,
well, patience is a word that's easily said. It's easy to say that, and it's kind of saturated because we use it so much, kind of like the word love, if you would say, and and when you really start dissecting what patience is and poise and those type of intangible traits, it's a lot harder to obtain those and acquire those and then execute those on a daily basis as a working farrier. I mean, there's moments there where you fail and those moments impact you badly. I mean, you can get hurt out here having a bad day, and you really have to be on your P's and Q's when it comes to what that word patience really means. And I think that the minute that we understand that, we start actually affecting people that we meet on a day-to-day basis in positive ways as well, having that patience.
Absolutely. I'll be honest with you. Growing up, I never had any patience, didn't care. I would just, if I had a horse that didn't listen, I would just ride the snot out of it and wear it out and make it listen. And now growing up and learning the patience from the horses, it has helped me out in so many different jobs, so many different interactions with people, to where it's like, okay, just got to be a little patient. You can't get all worked up. And that, just like shoeing horses, you cannot get worked up. Them horses are sensing everything you feel from 6 foot away. So if you're all worked up, what do you think that horse is going to do as soon as you walk up next to it?
Right. And that's something that I'm trying to teach my youngest daughter right now, is just the understanding of respect. And I think as humans, we lose that vision a lot when it comes to how we just exist. We get so complacent so quickly, so comfortable so quickly, that we get hurt or we harm something that was harmless. and innocent and wanting to help and comply. As a Marine Corps veteran, my relationship with that word horsemanship and that journey has impacted me so much. And I just want to share that. And it's hard to share because it's something you just can't express with words. You have to go live the life, and that's what I just love about when you and I met, is that we connected with not only the Cowboy Mounted Shooting, but with like the journey that I could feel that you were on as well, because there were moments that I saw you in that barn when you were like, I have to take a deep breath right now and be focused on what my mission is, and that's to be better. And you look around at some of the other students sometimes and you're like, I wish that I could help and guide you, but the pain that you're going through right now, you're going to have to go through that. That's part of the process. In order to be here where you start understanding what patience is, you have to sometimes go the hard way first. And that's been my journey. I've always chosen the dumbest route first, and then I learned my lesson. And now once I'm on this journey with horsemanship, so much being the forefront of how I think, it's affecting positive aspects in my fathering, as a husband, as a son, in so many different other ways, that I just truly believe that a horse is magic, and that relationship can change you forever. And it's an amazing thing, man. So why did you choose to be a farrier? Like, what made you say, "Hey, I'm going to go be a horseshoer today"?
I'll get into that in a quick second, but going back to what you just said, I agree 100%. There was days in that barn where you were completely pissed off. I was
Yeah.
completely pissed off. It was hot. It was miserable. And well, we didn't really work on the top-notch horses. We had the bottom of the barrel. And there was a couple times where you taught me some patience and different things, and I am still grateful for that.
Well, that's what friends do, buddy.
But so I've had horses my whole life growing up, and I currently have 8 of them. And I'm like, this getting a little expensive. $400 every time I need to trim them all trimmed. And I was talking to a kid my age I knew, and I've always kind of been intrigued by it, wanted to do it, but never really took the leap to actually go do it. And finally, I told the parents, I said, I think I'm going to go to school and learn how to do it for a couple weeks and see where it goes. Maybe I can, if I only do our own, that would be great. Save us a lot of money. And it ended up becoming my own little business, which is awesome. It is actually, it's been working out very well, and I've been very successful at it. I have learned a lot of new things after school on the journey of doing it and actually getting out there. It has taught me more business skills and everything else than I thought I'd ever have. But I guess the main reason I became a farrier was to save myself some money, and then I seen a very, very good opportunity.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of opportunity in it, whether it's trimming and shoeing, whether it's getting to know other people with horses and talking to people. It just there's a lot more that goes into it than just trimming and shoeing.
Yeah. 100%. And knowing, like, one thing I noticed from the beginning of school was that you weren't scared of anything as well. You're fearless, and that's something that you definitely have to have stepping into this, is saying that I'm fearless and humble. And those are two amazing traits to have, that like, I'm here to learn, and you were just absorbing everything so quickly. And so it doesn't blow my mind at all that you're shoeing in a proficient way. But what is the biggest thing is that people are hiring you for who you are. And it's a benefit for them to have somebody that they can rely on, they can trust, that's going to be honest, is going to be able to hold conversations, and who else is learning every single day. And that's what I just loved about school and this entire industry as well, is that it is a challenge. It challenges you to exercise intangible traits, But dude, the relationship between a farrier and a customer is so special. So special.
I agree with that a lot. And, since I got out of school and came back up here and started doing my own thing, I would say 90% of my customers have literally looked at me and said, we just can't find anybody. We can't get anybody to come do it. Nobody's willing to do our horses. And, I'll be honest, most of them aren't the nicest horses. They don't stand perfect. They don't just stand there, drop their head, and let you do whatever you want. But, if you're going into a farrier profession, you're doing it for the animals, not for the people, not for just the good graces of your heart. You're doing it for the animals, and that's what I kind of keep getting wrapped up in. Is I do a lot of horses that they tear my body up. I go to the chiropractor once a week because I can't hardly walk, but at least I did the horse some justice and they can all get around and walk.
Yep. Yep. And it snowed 9 inches down here in Oklahoma.
You
And I
guys
did a
have had
video.
more snow this year than
Yeah.
we have you had more snow in that one shot than we have all year.
Yeah, dude.
That's
And
insane.
I remember it being so cold up in like Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and Mal and I would have to go out there and feed these horses and break open water and break open the river. And I mean, we went above and beyond constantly. And if you don't have that, then this ain't made for you.
Yeah.
If you're eating first, this ain't made for you.
Yep.
And it's a dying breed, brother. And I want to apologize real quick about the video. I think that something's going on with my video cam app. I'm not even going to try to mess with it, but I wanted to offer Jackson, you want me to take your camera down or we can leave it up? I mean, you look so handsome. I can leave you there.
It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do, JT. It's up to you.
What's your favorite part about the shoeing process, man?
I'm going to be honest. I think my favorite part would be actually forging the shoe, making the shoe to fit correctly. And I think that is because most of these guys from where I'm from, nobody has an anvil. Nobody actually pounds on metal. Nobody does that. They pull a shoe out of the box, whichever one fits the closest, they nail it on, and that's it. Wow. That's all there is to it. And they're charging quite a bit more to do that than what I do. And it's like you're not even doing it the right way.
Right.
But I also really love the customer interaction, the stories and the different things I hear when I'm trimming for people or shoeing or any of it. Just the random different things about different horses. It's pretty entertaining. You get some good stories, some good laughs. It keeps
dude,
the day rolling.
It's like we're the barbers of the industry.
It is.
We're therapists, we're barbers, we're their best friends
of the horse world.
Yeah, we really are.
We know
and you're right,
whatever
man.
happened to so and so down the road, or Jimmy 2 blocks down the road, or we know it all.
Oh, that's funny. And I think that's the side that makes it so enjoyable when you can. Every day's different. Every day's different. You pull up to some of these places and they're beautiful barns. You pull up to some places and it's just a rundown trailer with a shed. I mean, it's and everything in between.
Yeah.
And it's just the people you meet across America. It's beautiful.
So I got a good one for you.
All right. That leads right into, you must be reading the future because I had this right here. It says, what's the wildest or the funniest story from the barn?
Okay. So the other day, I guess 2 Sundays ago, I went and trimmed for a guy, and all he does is breed horses, sells high-end show horses. So all of his brood mares and his 1 and 2-year-olds, and super good dude, awesome guy to work for. Last time I went to his barn, it was just it was so gross I didn't even want to be in it. One of them kind. So I get here this time and it looks brand new. The whole inside is refinished, brand new stalls, brand new everything. And I'm like, well, this is going to be an easy day. So I had a client after that, had 2 horses, brand new client. I get there and they don't have a barn. They barely have a house. And their whole yard was glare ice. So I'm like, well, I guess I'll do it. And this horse is dancing around, didn't want to stand, kept pulling its legs. And thank God I was just trimming it, because at one point I had its front leg between my legs and the horse just started walking. And it was dragging me right down the drive. It was like I was skiing. It wasn't stopping and I wasn't letting go. Otherwise I was going to fall flat on my ass. That was about the best one from this winter.
Well, shoeing on ice, man. There's a new, isn't it?
Oh my, yeah.
That should be like new what's it called? Disney on Ice, to be shoeing on ice.
I got there and I seen the place and I just shook my head. I really couldn't believe it. But you know what? I was there. I was gonna do the best I could, but I'm like,
that's
oh,
all you can do, man. And that's the thing, dog, is that like we're like chameleons out there. We really are. We have to be able to step into any environment and make our customer feel like we are so happy to be here. And because we really are. We really are. You know, like we're thankful for your business. No matter if it's on the ice or in a barn. It doesn't matter, man. We're so thankful.
It's what's paying our bills.
It is, man.
It's what we chose to do, and what I think I speak for majority of us when I say what we enjoy doing. Because I know I enjoy it for sure. Some of the times, not so much, like that time, but you know, for every one of them, you have 100 good ones.
That is true. And I do believe that it's very important for anybody listening to this to go to some sort of formal school, because the horses that you'll be able to get underneath so early in your career are going to kick your ass. And that is exactly what you need, because when you get out of school, you'll meet Susie and Joe who are warning you about their 29-year-old gelding, saying he doesn't stand very well and he could be naughty. But you go over there, you're like, guys, this horse is a gem. There's nothing. Trust me, he's not trying to kill me. You know, like. So
and
it definitely, I think it benefits going to school.
I 110% agree with that. After going to school, I came home, and of course, when you start up your new business, you're not going to get all the good horses. They're all taken. But it's getting the shitty ones and doing a good job on them that gets you the good business.
Yeah.
And from that, I mean, I do a lot of brood mares, a lot of them, more than I care to do. But it's like, man, he's complaining about these. These are nothing compared to what we did in school.
Right.
We had some of the most bottom of the barrel horses there.
In 150-degree weather.
Yeah. Old Betty Lou would go pull one out of the pasture that hadn't been trimmed in 5 years and bring it down. And it's like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah, man. It was definitely some days when you're like, we're not getting under that, right? And it's like, oh yeah. It's like, wow. But you know, those definitely set us up for so much success, because I have yet to meet anything out here on the streets that is comparable to what I was tackling in those barns down there at OHS. And I'm thankful for it. In the moment I was pissed, but now I'm like, hey, I'm glad that I got to wrangle Goliath.
Yeah. Start off on the worst and it only goes up from there. I agree with you 110% there again. Well,
one thing that you said that I loved is, like, you know, when you get out of school, there's a piece of reality that slaps you in the face. Those good horses are already taken. Who do you think's shoeing these horses right now while you're in school learning? You know what I mean? Like, you're just not going to get out, and because you have a certificate or some certification that people are going to be like, oh, I'm going to hire this guy now. You know, when you have a farrier, there's a sense of loyalty there. And so you do have to start off with the ones that are bouncing around farriers and start building that word of mouth and that relationship. And one thing I'm going to pass on to the students when I start going to OHS as a part-time instructor is the fact that you need to make sure that if it's one client or 1,000 client, that every single one of these people that you are treating with the utmost quality and courtesy when it comes to communicating, being on time, and being honest. Because in the beginning, that is your business, is those type of things. How you trim, how flat you get, or how fast you are come later. It's how you communicate and how you associate yourself with your clients early is what's going to dictate your trajectory.
And well, once again, JT, we're on the same page here.
I love it, man.
I am huge on communication. I have people cancel on me once in a while, last minute, but most of them give me a heads up. And I've had a few incidents. I just switched over to that well shot, that app.
Yep.
I think
The
I seen
Farriers
you
app.
shared something about it on Facebook, and I looked
Yes.
into it, and well, I went from writing everything down on paper. I switched over to that, which is awesome. I love that, by the way. Thank you
Good.
for getting me turned on to that.
You're welcome.
And so I had a few mishaps where I screwed up the dates, and the people were understanding. I flat out told them, and it wasn't a big deal, but you just got to make sure to kiss their ass the next time.
Mm-hmm. That Farrier app is pretty cool once you kind of start dissecting and seeing what it can do, because it's real simple, but it's so effective. And that's almost how dumb this is. What we need to do is simple. This is simple stuff that you were taught as a child.
Yep.
And for some reason, I made a reel about this, is that we spend thousands of dollars on tools and education and gas and time, and our energy, and our muscles are sore, our hands are beat down, and we get this title farrier, and then all of a sudden we just drop the ball when it comes to the basic stuff of how you treat somebody.
Majority of farriers and all the old ones, there's no communication. They have none. It's pretty pathetic. That's where everybody drops the ball around here, at least. And they either just don't show up, they won't respond to your text, they won't call you back. And it's like, I am on it as quick as I can, just because I'm like a new customer. I want them. I want every one of them.
Well, my first couple ride-alongs I did with Conrado Stefani, we didn't even talk about horsemanship or shoeing horses. He was prepping me on how I need to behave around his clients. And that's because that's the fundamental. That's the beginning. If you can't do that, then there's not going to be a horse for you to shoe ever.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm
loving it, dude.
I think, and going along with that, I actually just started working for a new farmer this fall, just part-time, just something to fill in my gaps. And he goes, you showed up, you were presentable, you didn't look ratty, you were 10 minutes early. And I think that goes just along with horseshoeing. You show up 5 minutes early. If you got to wait on the people to catch your horses, you wait on them. And you don't show up in your rattiest, nastiest t-shirt and jeans with holes and looking homeless. I think that's a big part of it, is the people, not just the horses.
That was the first thing I saw from my first mentor, Conrado, is how he handled these clients and made them smile the entire time and engaged with them and took the extra time to answer their questions or help them out with something. And it goes so far, because you will start getting that. And we call it in many other ways residual income. And even though you have to show back up and shoe the horse again or trim the horse, but you don't have to go find that customer again. That customer there. And so if you can keep that customer with some basic, human skills, then they will never leave you. Never.
And part of it is, from what I've learned and from what people have told me, most people that own horses, probably 80% don't know jack shit about their feet or how they're supposed to look or how they should be.
Right.
So as long as you make them look pretty, which is not at all what I'm saying to do, or that's not the right thing,
Right.
but most people be like, oh yeah, that's awesome. But it's your
Mm-hmm.
customer skills at that point that is keeping them around.
Yeah, because your
So
horseshoeing abilities will continue to grow. You'll get better and better and better as you apprentice more, go to more clinics, get underneath more horses, stay busy. That's going to come with many, many years. But the customer service, what you do today is going to impact you years from now too. Like those bad scenarios and those bad stories, those are the ones that people will always hang on to. Those are the rumors that are going from one barn to another. So you got to be really, really careful when it comes to the gossiping and getting involved with these clients where they are dropping your name in a negative way, because it will flood and burn up your entire business very,
absolutely,
very
that
quickly.
ruined your career faster than anything.
Yeah,
Like I had
big
a,
time.
a mini pony, I think 2-ish months ago, and it's foundered. Its feet are terrible. It was walking on what was left of its heels, which wasn't much. And I looked at the people. I told them what needed to be done. I said, it could bleed a little bit on that sole where I'm going to cut it down. And you know what? I was honest with them. It never happened, but
Mm-hmm.
I just told them what could happen, that I don't want my name getting thrown out there that I made your horse lame trying to do the right thing.
Right, right,
And they were just, nope, yep, that is awesome. Thank you for telling us. If it's a little sore for a few days, at least it'll feel better in a week.
yeah.
And as long as you have a sense to talk to people and just explain stuff to them and tell them what you're going to do, how you should do it, most people will never have an issue with you.
You're 100% right. And Jackson, I agree with you, brother. The rancher, the horseman, the farrier. Man, this next part of this podcast is called Turn and Burn. Now, the first thing that comes to your head, boom, you got to fire it out. Look at getting ready, getting the athletic stance.
All right.
Hunt or fish?
Hunt.
Hunt.
I'm a big bow hunter. Love
Mare or
it.
gelding?
Mare. All
Fronts or
day.
backs?
Fronts.
Cold or hot?
Cold.
You a cold banger?
Yeah, that's all I do right now.
I love it. Your favorite shoe size?
Probably ones.
Ones, huh?
They're
I've been getting.
easy.
I've
They're
been.
they're about the perfect size to work with. They're not small and they're not huge.
Man, I had a challenge yesterday. I had triple aughts,
Ooh,
which are
wow.
normally like when I first started shoeing, I was like, I kind of like the smaller feet. I like the triple aughts because, or in the doubles, even because you can clean them up. They just look so petite and I don't know, man, they look
They look
slick, right?
really nice when they're cleaned up,
They look,
but
but man, they
if you're
are a
shoeing them,
pain.
it's
Yeah,
it's hard to bend them shoes, I think.
it is. And
There's no room to
especially if you're
grab them or
cold banging.
work with them.
Yeah, man, because I got my stall jack and I'm cold banging this shoe yesterday, and I'm trying to get these heel quarters real straight, and I couldn't get the right angle for it to drape over the stall jack to straighten those heels. But I finally got it and got it tailored up, and it was worth it. But I looked at my wife because this was at her ranch where she works. I was like, dog, that was rough. And she's like, yeah. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
like seems like the smaller is a little bit more challenging. So ones, huh? Is that normally what you're seeing up there? Is bigger feet, ones and twos?
I see a lot of ones and twos is
Yeah.
majority of what I put on. And
Gotcha.
I don't mind doing the bigger ones either, but it seems like you go from pounding a one or an aught and you go to a two and you hit it the same as you would a one and you bend it just that much more because there's more area. It just, I
Right.
don't know. I'm weird
Yeah.
like that, I guess.
No, it
But
makes sense. It does make sense.
for me, it
100% it
seems like
makes
them
sense.
ones move too much, and then the smaller ones, it takes a lot of beating to get them to move.
See, down here in the Bible Belt, it's more double aught and single lot. I haven't really. I've only put one pair of ones on so far.
Really?
A lot of man. They're aluminums, and they're on a big old halter horse, and I'm surprised he's even a one because those halter horse got smaller feet. But
Wow.
what's next for you, man? What's 2025 looking like?
I'm gonna keep putting my business name out there on Facebook, everywhere else, everywhere I can advertise. Put my cards out there and try and get as many horses as possible lined up. Keep trimming and shoeing as much as I can. And I guess I'll farm a little bit to fill the gaps and
You
hunt
got
and fish
any
when I
bids coming
can.
up for Cowboy Mounted Shooting?
We won't start that till about late spring. That's when the shoots kind of start. But we've got a few scheduled to go to in Minnesota, a few in Iowa. Otherwise, it just as they pop up. If it works, we'll go. If not, busy.
Perfect. Man, it's crazy that it's 2025. This is a crazy year with Donald Trump back in office and all this stuff, man. And I'm excited for the horse industry, though, because we have had this trade has been around for so long, and I feel like it's just now getting traction. The culture has changed between the relationship between the industry and the farrier, the horse owner and the farrier. And also the bar has been set higher for this trade, I believe. And I'm excited to see both of us grow our businesses and both of us staying involved in this industry and keeping up with our friendship, because I really enjoy you and I's phone calls that we have, even though they might not be all the time. I feel like every other week or so, you and I are touching base and having good stories and good times together. So, dude, thank you so much, Jackson, for hopping on Shot House. And if anybody does want to check them out, you're on Facebook and what else? Instagram or anything?
I'm not on Instagram yet, working on it, but
But
Facebook is
Facebook.
my main page. Just Jackson
Gotcha.
Bakken. But
So
other
if
than
you're out there
that,
in Iowa,
I'm hoping to get out there a little bit more this year and keep getting if keep getting busier. Then there will be a business page to come and all that good stuff.
perfect. All right, brother, you got anything for me?
No, I'm glad I got the opportunity to talk to you and be on
Yeah,
here
man.
and share my piece and be a
I
part of
think
it.
I think you got a really cool story. And that's what it's all about, man. I want folks to be able to get on here and see that it's possible to pursue a future in this trade. And yes, it's hard and it's challenging and it takes a lot of patience, like we talked about, and it will test you. But if you're
Absolutely.
strong enough,
It is, there's not enough people going into this occupation. It
right?
is truly a dying breed. It sucks. And
And
which is
if
to circle back to a question earlier, I think that is also part of why I went into it because we don't have everybody around here is all old. There's only
right,
two younger guys even slightly close to my area that do it, and they don't do much. So horses got to keep getting trimmed.
mm-hmm. Yep. And
The world keeps turning.
if you're strong enough to be able to accept the challenge, and you're also mature enough to be humble enough to put your ego away and
Absolutely.
start working on yourself, the horse will guide you to a whole new perspective of how you interpret life on a day-to-day basis.
That is like you just hit it home. If you can put your ego away, anybody can do it. And
Yep.
you know what? I think the first day or two at school, I thought, this should be simple. This ain't nothing. I can probably blow this out of the water. And I got knocked down pretty quick that first day. My first day, I ended up cutting a horse's leg with my knife because the feet were so hard,
I
which
remember that.
sucked. And that one right there kind of knocked me on my ass. And I said, okay, I'm going to just shut up listen, learn, and not act like a know-it-all like most people would.
You know, Jackson, I've been booed off stages, humiliated in front of crowds, and that only affects me. This is the first time, like, think of any other industry. This industry, if you go out there and make a complete ass of yourself, you are now affecting others. And
you know what? In this day and age, you're most likely going to have a Facebook post made about you or this or that, and your business is going to be ruined pretty quick if you keep doing things like that.
Yep, you're 100% right. Well, hopefully there's some good takeaway from the listeners and the viewers. I do apologize about the technical issues that we're having, Jackson. But I want to have you back on here. Maybe come summertime, late summer, we can circle back around and kind of let us know how 2025 is going for you. And I know there's some really cool clinics that are coming up in Oklahoma. We love to see you in Oklahoma, man.
I got a few clinics already around this area that I'm going to hit. And if there is some down there, I'd like to make a few-day trip down and see some clinics and maybe learn a few new things.
Well, you got a place to put your head down at night right here in Wynnewood, Oklahoma, dog.
Well, I appreciate it, brother.
All right, man. You be good, and I'll talk to you shortly.
Absolutely. Sounds good. Thanks for having me on.
Later, brother.
Bye.
Welcome to Shot House, the podcast where we explore the craft, challenges, and stories of the farrier's world. From the anvil to the arena, we're here to talk all things hooves, horses, and hard work. Let's get started.